thing. As the properties, we are different though. There's a home for everybody.
Hello, this is the first episode on the 8 lessons I've learned building my business. The first lesson I learned from an experience I had many years ago at the beginning stage of building my business. And then we were trying to make sales. We were trying by all means to make sales. We were doing so many things. And then eventually, boom, one of the months we made a very major sales, like the biggest we had done at the time, and then we were happy. We collected the money, delivered the product, finished all of these things, and then the business began to run. The company began to run. But all of a sudden, I noticed that apart from these sales that happened in that month, over the next 9 months, we did not record a single sales. For the whole 9 months, the business was struggling, challenges everywhere. Things were not going fine. And I was wondering what happened. In the first month, we made a major sales. And then, even though this sales was able to sustain us for a number of months, nothing happened again for 9 months. And from that lesson, and from that experience, I learned a very major lesson. And the lesson is the first lesson I want to share with us today. And that lesson is that accidental success is worse than failure. I realized that it is not just important that you succeed. It is not just important that you get results. It is not just important that you get a desired outcome. But it is equally important that you understand what created the result you have. It is equally important that you know what exactly you did, right? So I learned that accidental success is worse than failure. Failure is bad, even though we can learn from it. But to succeed and not know what helped you to succeed, the exact process you went through to succeed, is dangerous. Part of the reason why it is dangerous is that it kills the ability for you to repeat that success. It kills the ability for you to repeat or to recreate that outcome. That is why, as good as luck is, as beautiful as it is for people to be lucky, to get lucky, as much as I pray to get lucky, I don't build on luck. As much as I pray to experience some kind of miracle in my business and all of that, I don't build on miracle. One of the strongest definitions of business startup is the definition I had many years ago. I can't even remember where I picked it up from. I think either from Peter Bain or one of those guys that used to teach on building a startup. And they said that the definition of a startup is that a startup is a structure that is set up to find a repeatable and scalable business model. A structure set up to find a repeatable and scalable business model. Now, take note of the word repeatable. In business, it is important that the results you have are results you can repeat, are results you can recreate. And I had somebody make a very profound statement some years back, and that's many years after all of these experiences and after I've learned this lesson. And this statement helped to drive home the lesson I learned. And the person said that in business, what gets rewarded is what gets repeated. That means if you want to achieve your ultimate reward in business, you have to find a way to see how to repeat the results you have. And the only way to achieve that is by knowing exactly what you did to achieve it. That's why in life is full of so many people that failed and could not get back to their status, could not get back their level, could not get back the result they once had. And that is simply because though they had the result, they didn't know the exact thing they did to achieve that result, right? So from this, I realized that even though it is good to get lucky, even though it is wonderful to experience miracle, even though it is important to focus on your outcome, make sure you take note, you know what process you went through to achieve the outcome of the result you have, right? The moment I realized this, we solved that problem of staying without sales. On that angle of sales, we solved that problem permanently, right? And there are 3 things I did to ensure I keep track of my outcomes, whether success or failure. There are 3 things I did. And those are the 3 things I believe that anybody that wants to create a repeatable outcome, repeatable, success, repeatable result, must ensure they do, so that you don't achieve results accidentally. Number 1 is that I began to monitor my processes, not my outcome, right? Monitoring processes, it's very, very important, even as you are monitoring outcome. Result is good, but taking note of the process that delivered that result is more powerful. For instance, going back to that story of sales, one of the things we did is that we made a conscious decision to monitor our sales process. We made a conscious decision to change the metrics that we measure. And we no longer measure only outcomes as our metric, but we began to measure process. We began to measure activities. Now, there are things that must be done at certain times to make sure that this same outcome we have, which is sales, keeps coming in. So that when something works, you know what worked. When something failed, you know how or why it failed, right? So measuring the sales results is important to us. But as much as it's important to us, measuring the process, measuring the activities, measuring the efforts, and every other thing that goes into achieving that outcome is also very important, right? That's the first thing we sorted. And then the second thing that we did to make sure that we reduce the amount or the number of accidental outcomes we have is that we began to ask one particular question all the time. And that question is this: what exactly did we do to achieve this result? What exactly did we do to achieve this outcome? You see, one day I was invited to an event outside my city. And then I got into the event. I saw the logo of my company, on their banner or something like that. And I was surprised, right? I wasn't even invited for the event. I actually went on my own just to attend the regular, industry events. And I was surprised to see my logo, my company logo, on their banner. I went close to see what was written there, and I saw the top 10 most trusted real estate companies in Southeast. And my company logo, my company name was there as the 3rd, right? So I was happy. That's an outcome. I was happy. That's a result. I was excited that we got such an amazing result that even without lobbying, without pushing, requesting, or whatever, an industry event can be held. And then my company will be recognized as one of the 10 most trusted real estate companies in the East. But the moment I came back from that event, I called my team and I told them, I shared the story with those of them that did not attend the event with me. And they were all happy, they were all excited. But immediately I switched and asked the question I always ask: what exactly do you think we did to achieve this result, to achieve this visibility in this manner? And then different opinions began to come. Different people began to say different things. At the end of the day, we took note of all of the things they said, sieved them, and then selected the ones that I also believe are the things we did that got that result. And we built those things, we built those activities into our processes, so that having us as one of the most trusted real estate brand in Southeast becomes a constant. It becomes a constant, right? So you need to learn how to always ask yourself that question the moment you achieve any outcome. What did I do to achieve this result? What did I do to get this. And once you find them, you need to now make it a process, right? So that those outcomes can be repeated, because what gets repeated is what gets rewarded, right? And then the third thing I now do to ensure that our outcomes are not accidental, our results are not accidental, is that we execute as planned and we take note of any adjustments, right? We execute as planned. We execute as planned, and then we take note of any adjustment. So many times I notice that what people do when they are doing planning and all of that is that they invest a lot of energy planning, thinking of what to do, thinking of their strategies and all of that. But the moment they finish this and then they come out with their plan, they get into execution. Along the line, they begin to meet some unexpected challenges. And the exact response, right, which is normal, is that they begin to deviate from the plan, which is not bad. But the problem I have with them now is that as they are deviating from the plan, they don't document the deviations. So at the end of the day, if you achieve a particular outcome or achieve the projected results, you cannot say that this plan or this process you took got you this outcome, because you deviated from that process a number of times, right? So that is the third thing you need to do. You need to ensure that the moment you are executing, you execute as planned, so that when the plan fails, you can tell that this plan does not work. This plan fails. There are a number of things that some of my team members, especially when they come in new, they come into my team with a lot of ideas, a lot of inspirations, things that they think we should do to get better results and whatever. And they are surprised sometimes that they mention this. I look at it, I tell them this will not work for us. They mention this will not work for us. And sometimes it leads to an argument. And at the end of the day, I try to let them see into the reasons why I make those kind of conclusions. And the reason is simply because some of those things have been tried. We have planned them, executed them completely, end-to-end execution. And at the end of the day, I've been able to see and measure the results. I've been able to see and measure the outcome, right? But if I never followed anyone to logical conclusion, I will not have the boldness to say that this particular model does not work. And I'm also not saying that when you are executing a plan, you should stay on the plan and then just stay on it, even when you are sure there are some other things out of the plan that you needed to do to make sure that you achieve the result. No. When there are things that you need to do outside the plan, let them be documented also. So that when you achieve the result, you know that you took this way, you now turned here, got back to the track, and then achieved this result. Okay, so those are the three things we do. The first one is that we monitor our process, not just the outcome. We measure what matters. And one of the most important things that matters is process, is activities, is input, not just the output, right? And then the second is that I always ask the question, what exactly did we do to achieve the result or the outcome we have? And the third is that we ensure we execute according to our plan, and then document if for any reason we made any adjustment. Thank you, and see you in the next episode.
There's room for everybody.